Let us start with the most important and most interesting section of this course, the web application pen testing. In this lecture, we are going to see an introduction to web servers. So what is a web server? A web server is a computer system that stores, processes and delivers web pages to the clients via HTTP. A web server delivers requested web pages to users who enter the URL in a web browser. Every computer on the internet that contains a website must have a web server program. The computer in which a web server program runs is also usually called a web server. So the term web server is used to represent both the server program and the computer in which the server program runs. So what are the characteristics of web server? A web server is just like another type of computer. It is always connected to the internet so that clients can access the web pages hosted by the web server. It always has an application called as web server running application. In short, a web server is a computer that is connected to the internet or intranet. The web server program will always be running in the computer. When a user tries to access a website hosted by the web server, it is actually the web server program that delivers the web page that client has asked for. All websites in the internet are hosted in web servers sitting in various parts of the world. So, is a web server hardware or software? Mostly, web server refers to the software program that serves the client requests, but sometimes the computer in which the web server program is installed is also called as a web server. Therefore, a web server can be hardware or software. Now, we will see how a web server operates. Like when I type a URL like www.asp.net and click on some link, I get dropped into that page. But what happens behind the scenes to bring you to this page and make you read this line of text? So now let's see what is actually happening behind the web server, that is behind our browser. The first, you might do this. You type http www.asp.net in the address bar of your browser and press your return key. Now, the browser could break this URL into two parts. The protocol which we will use to connect to the server, that is HTTP, and the server name, that is asp.net. And then the following process happens. The browser breaks up the URL into the parts and then it tries to communicate with the server looking for the server name. The server is identified through a unique IP address, but the alias of the IP address is maintained in the DNS server or the naming server. The browser looks up these naming servers, identifies the IP address on the server and requests database and gets the site and gets the HTML tags for the web page. Finally, it displays the HTML content on the browser. So you must have a question like, where is my web server located? When you try to access a website, you don't really need to know where the web server is located. The web server may be located in another city or country, but all you need to do is type the URL of the website you want to access in the web browser. The web browser will send this information to the internet and then it will itself find the web server. Once the web server is located, it will request the specific web page from the web server program running on the server. The web server program will process your request and send the resulting web page to a browser. It is the responsibility of the web browser to format and display the web page to you. So, how many web servers are needed for a website? Typically, there is only one web server required for a website, but large websites like Yahoo, Google, and so on will have millions of visitors every minute. One computer cannot process such huge number of requests. So, they will have hundreds of servers deployed in various parts of the world so that they can provide a faster response. Some examples of web server applications are Apache and IIS. In the next lecture, we will see types of attacks on web server.